This is Autoline After Hours with John McElroy and Gary Vassilash for episode 539 for January 14th of 2021. Sandy Monroe drops a big surprise.
Watch Autoline After Hours live at Autoline.tv every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 12 p.m. Pacific. You can subscribe to this podcast for free by searching for Autoline in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube.
Autoline After Hours is brought to you by Hyundai, Bridgestone Tires, solutions for your journey, and by Borg Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world.
Gary, how you doing?
Good, John. How are you?
Doing okay.
Good. So I do have a couple of date things, but I've got something else before that. So you and I have been around the block a few times, and we've talked to a number of people over our careers. Today, I talked to a guy. I was astonished. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this guy's title.
Okay,
and then try to guess what company he works for. He's vice president of data applications and analytics for the Intelligent Solutions Group of what company?
Oh my gosh, jeez. Oh geez.
All right, you won't guess.
Wait, I'm going to say General Motors.
John Deere.
Oh my gosh.
Now, okay. So why is this so astonishing? So Katie, could you run the little brief tape that I? Okay, look at this thing. Okay, notice how it has tracks. It doesn't have wheels, tires, because tires would make the dirt go down and compact it, and those tracks don't do the same thing. Okay, the astonishing thing. Okay, so all this data analytics thing. This thing takes 15,000 measurements per second. They're able to take the seeds and basically put them down like precisely because they have a GPS that communicates from the tractor to the planter with an accuracy of 1 inch. I said to the guy, wait. You know, the Defense Department doesn't let you get it that close. He goes, no. We have our own system that we use for this. I mean, it's just flabbergasting. So basically they're uploading 100 megabits per second to the cloud. They have over-the-air updates for this thing. And there's and it's self-driving, okay, that a farmer planted 3,400 acres without touching the steering wheel. Unbelievable.
That's astonishing. Now, I knew that they had introduced autonomous technology into tractors over a decade ago. I had no idea they were going into that kind of data collection.
And he basically he was very reticent to say that it was an autonomous vehicle because he says, well, you still have to steer at certain times, like when you're driving on the roads and so on. But the thing can turn, and I mean, it was just I was just flabbergasted by the technology there, and because they're at CES. Okay, so who would imagine that this agricultural equipment manufacturer would be at CES? But I mean, it's like the data is just enormous that they're doing, planting 100 seeds per second. It's just crazy, and this one tractor. Okay, so
well, wait, I was just going to say, I like the tracks.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Cool.
It's just unbelievable. And so all right, so in 1914, something happened today that was rather significant, which will have probably something to do with what we'll talk about during the show.
Okay, I'm going to guess that's when the moving assembly line actually started to be used for Model T assembly.
Genius.
Well, I know the state because it was actually like in November or December of 1913 that they started experimenting with, winter sales go down, or at least they did way back then. And they literally took a winch, a rope, and a stopwatch. And they tied the rope to a Model T chassis, and they used the winch to start winching it across the floor. And they had workers out there with piles of parts and components, and they kept figuring out what's the proper speed. And Sandy will probably know exactly what the speed is. Nonetheless, they settled on a speed, and I don't remember it off the top of my head right now, but it's roughly the same speed that assembly lines run at today.
Wow.
1913, they figured it out with a stopwatch, a rope, and a winch.
So I'm amazed you knew that. Okay, so here, one more. So in 1954, a company was established by putting two companies together
In the United States.
in the United States.
So I'm going to say it was probably Nash and Rambler.
Very, very close. Very close. It was the Hudson Motor Car Company and Nash Kelvinator.
Okay, yeah.
So I thought it was interesting, like Nash Kelvinator, and I looked into that, and so it was Kelvinator as in refrigerators, and I was thinking, well, wait a minute, what does one have to do with the other? So it basically turns out that there's this guy named George Mason who is the president of Kelvinator. Now Charles Nash, who had founded the company that bore his name, was looking for a successor. Walter P. Chrysler suggested to him that he get a hold of this guy, George Mason. George Mason said, well, I'll come work for your company, but I'm running Kelvinator. You've got to bring Kelvinator into the company as well. And so that's how those two things came together. So they continue to make cars and refrigerators. Now, here's another fascinating little bit. So remember, General Motors owned Frigidaire. And I didn't know this, but one of the show's sponsors, Borg Warner, owned Norge Appliance.
Oh, that I did not know.
So here's so what's the deal with car companies and automotive suppliers and refrigerators?
Yeah. Well, compressors and all that sort of stuff. There was a tie-in, but just to take that Kelvinator story one step further, is Jeep Truck Engineering, which was on Plymouth Road in the city of Detroit forever and ever and ever until they moved everything up to the present location in Auburn Hills, Michigan. That Jeep Truck Engineering complex, which formerly was the American Motors headquarters, which formerly was the headquarters of Kelvinator.
Wow. Amazing. So that's all I got.
Okay. Hey, let's bring Chase Drum in on the conversation here. Hello, Chase. Up, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Loud, clear.
All right. Sorry about that, but great to be back on again.
Yeah, no, great to have you. And how are things out in Oregon?
As you can see, it's another beautiful day in paradise out here. So no complaints.
That's great.
Just like
Okay.
Michigan.
Enough about refrigerators, enough about weather in Oregon. Everybody's dying to see Sandy Monroe. Let's bring him in. There he is, Sandy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on again. I'm very happy to be here. Very honored to be here. Yes, exactly.
Sandy, were you yelling the answers to the questions?
No, I knew the answers to some of them, not all of them. But now I have questions for you guys. Who invented the refrigerator?
Oh, it was probably somebody like Archimedes or something like that. I'll bet it goes way back.
No, it doesn't.
It was Kevin Kelvinator or Frank Frigidaire.
Neither one.
Okay, who was it, Sandy?
Kettering. Boss Kettering.
No kidding.
Boss Kettering, yeah.
From General Motors.
From General Motors. GM invented they invented a lot of things, but they also invented refrigeration, which turned into what we have today in the way of a refrigerator. Now, something else you didn't know. That seed stuff, that's one of our customers. They invented the stuff that's plopped in there that basically gives you the location and when to drop the seeds and when. And that company is called Dickie John, and that is precisely that's one of the things that we helped Dickie John invent. So that big giant John Deere thing that you saw is using the traction system that we developed or helped develop for tracks. So a lot of people know that we tear cars apart and criticize people, but not very many people know that we help invent things. And so actually, when we get into, I'm sure you're going to get into some of the GM stuff that came up at the at the electric show. I just came from a little workshop that we were having right here to look at how to cost reduce and part reduce and make work better a drone for the Defense Department. So $300,000-$400,000 per vehicle, or whatever it is, a vehicle kind of going to be gone. So yes. So now, see. Now
So speaking of vehicles, Sandy, what is that vehicle right behind you?
That's a Tesla. Yes, that's a Tesla Model 3. Actually, there's two of them. So we have the Tesla Model 3, and over there is the Arcimoto vehicle. So we've got a little contract going on with Arcimoto right now, and then the Model 3 is the brand new one. This is the 21 that we all had heard a lot about, and we're in the process of getting ready to release a bunch of different segments on what we found, similar to what we did on the Model Y.
So, Sandy, I mean, you've worked on numerous Model 3s. Right off the top of your head, what do you see different before you get into, really taking this thing apart?
You know what? I've got everybody in the planet turned around looking at me going, so I'm going to tell you that I found some stuff that made me very happy, some stuff that I was not happy about, and some stuff that's kind of like neutral. But one of the things that I said I was going to say on your show is a little surprise.
Yeah, let's hear the surprise.
We're going to take this for a ride. We're going to go basically across country. I want to get it cold weather testing. We're not going to instrument it and do all of the other things that some guys might want to do, but we're going to try and figure out where is this thing efficient? Because I hear a lot of stuff about, oh, it's efficient doing this or it's efficient doing that, but not this and that. A lot of muck. And so the only way that I know what to say to people who ask me questions is to actually do the experiments myself. So myself and Corey Steuben, our president, we're gonna go into north, someplace, probably Minnesota. Normally we'd go to Winnipeg, but someplace up north, and then we're gonna drive down south and hopefully do some hot weather and cold weather testing at the same time. And then we're gonna travel around a little bit and then come back home. And initially it was going to be the two of us were going to drive out, do whatever we do, and then fly back, and somebody else can fly in and drive the car back. But Corey's wife and my wife said, we don't like that idea. So we're going to be driving it back. So I'll be out of the office. It's like a fun thing. I think what I want to do is, while I'm being a bad boy, be a real bad boy, and eat hamburgers a lot. So that's my fun in the road trip. I get a chance to go to Burger King. Yeah.
So are you predicating the route on where superchargers are, and how long do you think this is going to take you?
Actually, no, because I want to find out about what happens when we use some of these different attachments and things. I want to know if I've got my Tesla and I want to go someplace where there's no supercharger, what's it gonna cost me? What kind of impact am I going to have? So we're gonna be checking that out as well. Yeah.
Hey, one other suggestion: when you do your cold weather testing,
yeah,
try best case and worst case. And by worst case, what I mean is overnight cold soak,
right?
And see what kind of range degradation that you get. With Tesla, with most EVs, you can plug them in, you can heat the interior up while it's still plugged in. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a best case scenario. So when you get in the car, everything's warm and ready to go. Right. But I see significant drop off in EV range when the temperature gets cold. I would say, when it's down around 30, about a 30% drop in range. When it gets down to around 20, about a 50% drop off in range. I'd love to see what you find.
And actually, that is exactly why we're doing this, because with the new octo valve and heat pump and everything, we're being told by owners, not Tesla. We don't really ask Tesla for anything, but we've been told by owners that that they're seeing a dramatic difference between Model 3 they may have gotten in 18 or 19 and the Model 3 that they have now with the 21. So I want to check that out. So we're going to be using, you know, the same technique that I would use as if I was at Ford for a Phoenix test or a cold weather test. So, and that means let it sit outside, and I want it bitterly cold. I'm looking for colder than 20 degrees. And we jump in, turn it on, turn the heat up to 85, and let's see how quickly we get to the 85, and then let's see what kind of a drop off we've got as far as the battery performance. So it's going to be very, very similar to what I would try and do if I was in an ICE vehicle.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, Sandy. Are there any other cars that you're looking to benchmark it against? From some of the cold weather testing I've seen, at least of other electric vehicles, the new Model 3 comes really close to the Kia e-Niro, and that seems to be just because both of them have really efficient heat pump systems. So I'm just curious if you're going to be doing the test with any other EVs or even just traditional ICE vehicles.
Well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to some of our OEM friends, and I'm going to compare what we found with what they found on other vehicles. I don't want to see what they've come up. I want to see what they've come up with on the Tesla Model 3 21, if they've got one. But I don't think many guys have got one. So I just want to see what we can compare to. I know what the old Model 3 is what I really need. I wish we never did any of that stuff. We didn't think of it then. But I know that it was done by others, and I want to compare what they saw versus what I'm seeing. And if they've got the 21, the Model 3 21, then I want to see what they've got versus what we've got. I mean, this is going to be empirical data. That's a fancy word for bullshit. And so it's kind of like there's no instrumentation and things like that. But at the end of the day, this will give us a close enough kind of thing so that we'll put it into the videos and whatnot. Actually, it may be live streamed. A lot of people have tried to talk us into that. I don't know what the hell we'll do between Burger Kings and hotels, but anyway, it might be something worthwhile.
So Sandy, I'm a little concerned that John was saying about how that severe drop off of the battery in the very cold weather. And I'm thinking about you and Corey somewhere in the wilds of Minnesota at some motel, and you come out in the morning and one of you has to push.
Well, that would be Corey, because first off, I outrank him. I own the company, and he's young and strong. So, but thanks for bringing it up. I'm hoping that Corey is watching this as he's driving up north. His wife needed some time away from home there, so he's on a little bit of a 1.5 day vacation. So if he's watching right now, I'm sure he's writing your name down, Gary. Yeah.
Hey, we got to take a quick commercial break right now. We're going to give a shout out to our friends at Hyundai. Back in a moment.
What's the weather tomorrow?
High of 64.
Find me the closest coffee shop.
20 results found.
And a date for tonight.
Oh, you're good.
Introducing dynamic voice recognition in the all-new Hyundai Elantra.
We're back talking with Sandy Monroe. Sandy, anything else we need to talk about on that Tesla, or should we get to the other vehicle you got there?
Well, we can jump to the other vehicle. The only thing on this, maybe the first episode is going to be dumped tomorrow morning. So if your viewers want to have a look, or you guys want to have a look, feel free. And it's nothing really. It's just me driving in, or somebody driving in the door. And then I start taking a look at it. It's my first impressions. Last time we did it, first impressions, it was, I started packing a 40 cal because, there were so many people that were unhappy. And that was that was on your show. Yeah, right after.
I'm curious, have you had a chance to look at the front forward radar There's been a lot of rumors of Tesla kind of moving to a newer, like lower millimeter wavelength that could be closer to what, not perfectly LiDAR, but get pretty close perception. I'm just curious if your team has seen that or if that's still to be in production yet.
Well, we're with this vehicle here, we've done only superficial things right now. So things that we would normally do on an FFQ. We're not going to really do a true fit finish quality assessment because we don't have time. There's a lot of stuff going on. We would find out about the radar system and whatnot when we remove the front fascia. And that's going to be further down the road. There's probably going to be 20, 30 episodes. And so we'll probably get to that later. I think I'm pretty sure that I don't want to take off the fascia until I actually get a chance to do some of this ride. I think the ride and drive is going to be really something worthwhile.
It may fall off in Minnesota anyway, so.
No, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. Somebody sent me this thing with wheel lugs missing and a nut for the upper control arm gone, and it's just amazing.
So what
checked this out, by the way. We went through this thing before. Corey had it for a week, and I've got this thing. Holy mackerel! Look at all this stuff. Everything's falling off and blowing up, and so I said, "Did you look underneath it?" No. Well, tomorrow we're putting it up on the hoist. After I take a first look, we put it up on the hoist. We didn't find any nuts falling off or anything like that. Yeah.
What is your sense of the build quality as you just looked at it?
Like I said, some of the build quality is much improved. Some of it's and some is same as what I was expecting. So there's going to be a few surprises. There's going to be a few surprises tomorrow to make everybody go, "Are you kidding me?" So that's kind of like what's going on. But there are, I mean, it's Tesla. Sometimes they do brilliant things and sometimes not so much. So there you go. But I was hoping for, I'll tell you that, I was hoping for more than I saw so far.
So Sandy, what's that other little vehicle behind you?
Well, that would be one of the three-wheel vehicles that we're working on. That's called the Arcimoto. And it's a FUV, fun utility vehicle. And we're helping them get to production. We're redesigning it and so that it'll be easier to put together and cost less. And then we're also going to help them out maybe with the with how it's going to be built. So
who's Arcimoto?
Who is Arcimoto? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Okay, so I was listening to some people from the California Airborne, CARB, and they have some stuff that's pretty amazing. I don't know if you've heard about this, but they want all vehicles sold in California to be to be EVs by 2035. Remember when I said 2030 is going to be the crossover point? Maybe somebody took it seriously there. They also want smaller vehicles because there's no reason for having this, a 2-ton monster, which is, according to California, a polluting vehicle. They don't want, they just don't want them in their state anymore. So you get the idea that maybe the car is going to have to cost a little bit less. Well, these cars here are not going for tuppence, as they used to say in England, but the Arcimoto is half the price and twice the fun. So I think that there's going to be a move. I know there's going to be a move to three-wheel vehicles. I know it. I've been talking to people in Europe, people in Asia. Some guy in Asia calls us the king of three wheels. I'm hoping that that was a good thing, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at three wheels as being a good way to go, and quite frankly,
crash standards.
What's that?
They don't meet any of the crash standards.
Right. Why is that?
Well, they're
Because they're a motorcycle.
Yeah,
And
exactly. They're not
Yeah,
even classified as cars.
they're classified as an autocycle. And
Can you share any? Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, can you share any of the suggestions you've had from? It's kind of funny. I actually got to ride one back in 2013.
Yeah.
And so it's a company that I've been following for a while, and I wasn't sure if anything was where they were going to go long term. But it's great to see you're working with them, and they just announced they're building a factory that's 5 times larger than what they have now. So I'm just curious what you've been able to help them with.
Well, that part is that's covered under NDA, but in essence, reduce the cost, improve the assemblability, improve its manufacturing characteristics, change some of the materials. Basically, we looked at it and changed a lot. So that product and Nobay, I talked about that before. Nobay is also a 3-wheel vehicle. That one's right now looking for major investors. We need 3 or 4 million in order to get some prototypes on the road. So if there's some rich guys out there in the automotive world that are interested, give me a call. We'll have my number on the end of the show.
Just do what everybody else is doing. Do a SPAC, a reverse merger.
Yeah.
They'll give you hundreds of millions.
And that's a SPAC or crowdfunding. That's how everybody that's in the 3-wheel vehicle community is going. I'd like to get going faster than that, so it'd be great if I could get some big money. But the other Aptera is the other company that we're working with right now, and Aptera is well funded, and they did that basically overnight. They really did a fantastic job. So with that one, we're going to help a little bit with design, but not much. But mostly what we're going to do there is help them figure out how to manufacture the product faster, easier, better, blah blah, whatever. And there was a little thing on one of our shows about that when we signed the contracts and everything. So
the design of the Arcimoto and the Aptera are almost opposite, because isn't Aptera fully carbon fiber? Yeah.
It's the Aptera is vastly different than Arcimoto, and that's why we're going to be able to work with them. So the Nobay is one type of a vehicle. The Aptera is another, and then you've got Arcimoto, which is entirely different than the other two. So I think that these are good things that we can get involved with. And for Arcimoto, it's no secret. I mean, they announced that Monroe was going to work with them, and their stock went from $250 in June to $12.50 or $75, something like that right now.
Yeah. So Sandy, why is it that you think 3-wheels are going to take off? I mean, I'm thinking, John, remember how many years ago we had the manufacturing guy from Elio Motors on the show? I mean, that was a long time ago. I mean, that company's been around for 10, 11 years. Arcimoto's been around for maybe a little longer than that. Yeah. Aptera's been around. I mean, and I think about the Polaris Slingshot. You see one of those things, it's like, whoa, what an odd looking vehicle.
Yeah. And quite frankly, it's like everything else. If you hit the market at the right time, you get a winner. And if you don't, you're dragging your feet and you're going to be really unhappy. So let me tell you a little story. Sometime during the downturn in 2008 or something like that, a Japanese guy came in to see us, and he said, "Hey, I've got paint that's photovoltaic, so it could make electricity from the sun, and I'd like to talk to you about it. And can you rent me a small office? And I'm going to go to the stars and the moon with this." And anyway, what wound up happening tragically was he committed suicide. He couldn't get anybody on his side. It was the wrong time. Who in the heck needs a solar anything in that time frame? Now, Obama was big on it, pushed a lot of technology and whatnot, but unfortunately it all went to China. So now we fast forward to where we are now. And if you get into an Aptera, you may never, ever have to charge it. Ever. 1,000-mile between charge because it's solar. Now, what would have happened if that guy would have shown up, like, say, 2 years ago with his photovoltaic paint? Man, you got a winner. It's going to be. So anyway, unfortunately, when that guy died, I don't know where the technology went, but I sure could use it now. And I'm telling you what, for a three-wheel vehicle, that's something that's really going to help you out. For that vehicle, you're wasting your time because that needs a lot of charge, whereas the smaller vehicles, they're light, agile, whatever. They're.
Do you see it different industries as well? It seems like the Arcimoto one, I know they were promoting using it as like a city transport in lieu of bike passengers, and then Aptera seems to really be focused on being more of a personal transportation.
Yeah, and yes, each one of these things has a different objective. What do they want to try and do? Where do they want to take their technology? Where do they want to take their product? And how are they going to make all these things happen? Yes, that is a fact. They are gonna. They're in different industries, and I think that probably eventually they'll hire an MBA. Wow, what we need to do, and then they'll probably start bumping heads like the big OEMs. But for right now, I believe that there's. Then, by the way, there's a lot more than three. I mean, there's tons of three-wheel vehicles out there. A lot of people see this as the wave of the future. We're not going to get to where we need to get to if everybody is driving, a single passenger looking like that. And then you were asking about savings and whatnot. I'm not sure. I will anyway. The Arcimoto passed the Moose test. So for those of you who don't know, that's kind of a big deal. And as far as the thing that kills most of the car companies, the small offset, have a look at that. The wheels are outboard. So what if you tear a wheel off? It's gone. There's nothing going to happen there. And then, it doesn't have airbags and it doesn't have blah, blah. Well, the Arcimoto and the Nobe and the Aptera, they'll all have airbags and they'll all have seatbelts. I'm telling you right now, as long as there isn't some clown in government that wants to screw things up, and I don't think that's going to happen under Biden, I think you're going to see a lot of three-wheel vehicles on the roadway, and any of the OEMs, any of them that doesn't have one, better buy somebody, and in a hurry. In a hurry.
Hey, we got to take another quick commercial break right now. We'll be back in 30 seconds. But first, BorgWarner.
The world is changing at an ever-increasing pace. No matter what the mode of transportation, there is always the need for an efficient propulsion system. And that's exactly what BorgWarner has been doing since the earliest days of the automotive industry. We create innovative mobility technologies that reduce energy consumption and emissions while improving performance. Our proven track record has made us an industry leader in forward-looking propulsion solutions for combustion, hybrid, and electric vehicles.
We're back talking with Sandy Munro. Sandy, I think three-wheelers are cool. I think we definitely don't need single people driving around moving 4,000 pounds of mass and having the power of 200 to 300 horses with them. But the biggest problem is convincing the public that they want to go in these things. I don't see it happening. A decade ago, coming out of the Great Recession, the Obama administration told Detroit, you don't know what you're doing. You have to invest in small cars. That's the future. You've got to do it. And where are we now? We can't sell enough big SUVs.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into one of the other things I heard from the CARB people. Let me look just to make sure. So we're looking at all trucks, that's pickup trucks, that have to be doing other things than ICE by 2035. They are implementing their new system, and lots of the states are abiding by it. They like it. They're going for it. Canada just signed up. That was an announcement that was made just recently, a couple of weeks ago or whatever. That's not going to be good news for big giant car companies, or sorry, people who want to buy a big giant car. If it isn't propelled by electricity, you're going to have a problem. And by the way,
problem in the wintertime if you lose 50% of your range.
Well, I'm going to check that out, but I'm getting responses from people that already have a Model 3 and already did some cold weather testing. And I don't want to say it because you're going to go crazy and say that's impossible. And that's kind of like what I said when I saw the when I looked at the data and whatnot that they sent me. I said, you're out of your mind, you're lying, whatever. I didn't tell them that. I said, well, thank you very much. But at the end of the day, I don't believe what I'm looking at right now. But when I get done, we should probably have another chat. I want to find out
data that they're sending you.
It's a lot less than 40 or 50% or 30% even.
Good.
I'm looking at teens. And if that's the case, if this is really and truly true, yeah, I think that there's going to be some serious changes that are going to happen. And that's what, I mean, we've been talking about batteries, but really, what else we got going on here? Just down the road is what's their name? QuantumScape. I have a lot of hope for that. And then I didn't know what you were going to talk about. So we also have this, right? Capacitors. I like these a lot. It's just it's like putting a lightning bolt inside of a jar. But you know what? We're going to figure this out sooner or later, because here's another big question. What is the biggest bane, the biggest complaint that the DoD has? The biggest problem they have?
Vladimir Putin?
Gas bill?
I don't care about him.
Something to do with refrigerators?
No.
All the fuel they've got to move around.
That's exactly right. The
And
fuel.
the cost of that fuel.
And the cost of the fuel and the accessibility of the fuel. People forget World War II didn't turn around on D-Day. World War II turned around when Rommel had no oil for his tanks, or fuel oil for his tanks. And I had a friend, his name was Ginger Stott, and he came walking through after the tank battle, and there was plenty of tanks. Some of them were totally untouched. No diesel fuel, none. And they were beaten by what the Germans used to call Tommy cookers, okay, Sherman tanks. And if you hit one, it went up like a Roman candle and everybody died. Tommies were the name that they gave to English soldiers, British soldiers. But that's where the war was lost, right there. No oil, you're out of business. And by the way, that's happened in pretty much every field, no matter whether it's battleships or aircraft carriers or tanks or Humvees or whatever. No fuel, you're out of luck. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Some of it's kind of public knowledge, but nuclear power, generating electricity that can fit inside of a big truck and run around. That's kind of like very interesting to the Department of Defense. And quite frankly, I've been at lots of what would you call them, conferences kind of. And there'll be somebody that'll come along and say, our biggest problem is fuel. The guy that figures out how we can go electric 100% is going to be the winner. That's the Department of Defense. I don't
Sandy,
know. I think,
Sandy, you mentioned capacitors, and a few years back, Tesla took over Maxwell Technologies, which is a ultra cap manufacturer.
Right.
Are they doing anything with it?
I know a little bit about what they're doing, and what they're doing is trying to figure out how to manufacture a solid state battery. Now, solid state batteries don't care as much about getting cold as what lithium ion does. Solid state batteries, they load up in a heartbeat because for the most part, they're not a capacitor, but they're a lot closer to a capacitor than they are to a lithium ion battery. And with what technologies we've seen or heard of, the big problem is manufacturing. How do I make these things fast enough? And we've seen enough to know that we think we could help out in that area. Basically, you're looking at trying to take greasy potato chips and put them together at a high rate. And they're not like Pringles. They're not always shaped the same way. So that's a problem. And they don't like to be squeezed together. They're not going to be going like the prismatic kind of batteries where, you got to bolt them together because they breathe, or they want to breathe anyway. These things don't like a lot of pressure. So there's a lot of things that are popping up with as far as technology is concerned. And so right now, today, maybe it's a problem. Tomorrow, maybe somebody will invent a refrigerator. And everything is going to be glorious, and you don't have to buy ice to put in your ice box.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Sandy, what's your sense of how the traditional automotive manufacturers are doing in light of all of this, whether it's three-wheeled vehicles or what Tesla's been up to or what you're seeing in other industries? I mean, how are they doing?
Well, if this wasn't a family show, I'd just take off my pants, and then I would say they're caught with their pants down. What do you think? I think that they hired a lot of really expensive consultants who told them, "Don't worry, ICE is here forever." And I remember sitting in another conference, and people were saying that we'll only see about 10%. We'll only see about 10% of the market being EV in 2045. Guy was a genius. He was being paid tons of money. Everybody applauded wildly. And I'm sitting there thinking, should I say I think it should be a crossover 50% in 2035 or 2030? I can't think. And this guy is saying 10%. Oh boy, oh, that's my guy. I believe you. Okay, all this stuff. But really and truly, I think they got caught with their pants down, and that's why GM and LG are having a big deal. I thought we were going to talk about VTOLs. I talked about that before. I think that and the three-wheel vehicle are the two things I'd be hanging my hat on. I heard lots of stuff. The thing that really surprised me the most was when Ford said, "Okay, we're in with Rivian, but we're not going to do anything." I was dumbfounded. I would have just taken the F-150 chassis or body and stuck it on top of a Rivian and called it a day, but it didn't happen. I still think that there's a lot of people, I think, at very lofty places that the good times are coming back, the good old days. Well, I'm not into that at all. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to look backwards and say that's the future. I can't do it.
So you're not at all encouraged about what General Motors has been saying about, the Ultium battery and the Lyriq and the Celestiq and the electric Hummer and Ford with the Mach-E and the forthcoming e-transit van and the electric F-150, that doesn't say to you they're getting it finally?
Marketing is. I think marketing is doing a fine job. So let's talk about what does a general public say? I mean, it's one thing to hear it from the mouths of the company, but let's talk about what you hear from the marketplace. So, as you may or may not know, we placed orders for we placed orders for a Cybertruck, the Rivian truck, and the Humvee electric, and then the guy that really runs the place, our accounting guy, CFO, he said, "I don't think so." And so, although he's smaller than I am, somehow he frightens me. So he said, "You can have 2, but you can't have 3." So okay, we went to our subscribers and the people that watch Monroe Live, and we said, "Hey, we can't do all 3. I'm definitely doing the Cybertruck because I'm thinking of buying one, and for me, like as my truck. And we can't pick. We can only pick one. So please let us know which one you think we should go after, the Humvee or the Rivian. And what do you think? What do you think the percentage might have been in favor of the winner?
Rivian.
The Rivian was the winner. What do you think the percentage was?
70.
Any other guesses, Gary?
85.
85.
I'm going to say 50. I know the Rivian's popular, though.
97% said that they wanted to see something on the Rivian. Only 3% came up for and that was, I can't remember, I think it was 30 something. It was a lot, 30,000 or. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's it didn't. This wasn't even a race. I mean, it's nasty when you see that kind of stuff come back. And I don't think it's because GM can't do it. I just think they sat on their hands too long. And I'm positive. I mean, a long time ago, I think Gary will remember. I was in Traverse City, and some other reporter came up and interviewed me after GM had made a speech about how they were going to turn quickly and whatnot. And this guy turned around and said, Mr. Winters, I think it was. Anyways, he turned around and said, Sandy, what do you think? And I said, it's hard to make an elephant tap dance, or let's see the elephant tap dance. And that is the truth. Elephants are hard to tap dance, but if they get running at you, they can outrun you. And when they step on you, you're going to be about this thick. That's it. So I know that they can do the job. I just don't think they've been doing the job that they should have been doing 10 years ago. So what do they need to do? Well, they can do some of that stuff organically, but they really need to start buying into buying people. And that's what I think is going to happen. Just like you were talking about Kelvinator and Nash and all these, same thing is going to happen. Some of these smaller car companies are going to be just too appealing for words. They'll snap them up, suck up the technology, and go into business doing whatever business that they want to get into. That's the only way I see it happening.
Okay,
They
one more quick.
been around too long.
No, another quick break right now. We got to give a shout out to our good friends at Bridgestone. We're back talking with Sandy Monroe and Chase Drum.
Wow, that was fast. Good. So,
I was just going to say, I'm curious. We're talking about the electric pickups, and those have definitely been a popular, really popular category. But as far as actual EVs on the market, you've got kind of the VW ID4, I think, is just starting to roll out, and then obviously the Mustang Mach-E. I mean, has there been much interest in your viewers, Sandy, around those kind of the crossover segment, since there's actually some of those on the road now?
We could have gotten a Mach-E. I was thinking that maybe that'd be a great thing to have a look at. And I mentioned that I'd like to have a look at a Mach-E. And what came back was, why? It's supposed to be a sports car, and yet an S or an S or a 3 or a Y could beat it. And then I checked it out, and that was the case. And then I got another viewer that said, I'm thinking of, I have a position on a Mustang Mach-E, and I'll give it to you. I won't even take the down payment. You can just have it. And then I went, actually not me, but everybody else went, why would we do that? If he wants to give it up, why, that kind of stuff. So I'm not I don't get that kind of, I get things saying, I want more on Rivian. I want more on the Arkimoto. I want more on the other three-wheeled things. I want more on the VW. We are definitely going to look at that one. Because as far as all the other big companies that I know of, number one on the hit parade is VW. They're the guys that will probably be making money on EVs shortly.
Why?
Because they, you know why? It's just
no. It's why I asked.
Amazing. They're in the lead because of the diesel problem. They had to change the psychology. They had to change the minds of the people to not just this terrible bunch of bastards who are polluting the whole of the United States, but, oh, no, you flip the coin. Oh, no, we're going to be the EV angels that will bring you a product that you're going to be happy to have. We've seen the error of our ways. By the way, take that guy and throw him in jail. Oh, those two guys too. Might as well get all of them. Throw them all in jail. And guess what? They had to shift gears before everybody else. So why did I buy the first Model 3? Do you remember, Gary? Or John? What?
Because you want to sell reports.
Nope, I did not. I wanted to make some money. I already had, I did that BMW i3, and my guys, I had to hide for a while. I thought they were going to take me out and shoot me in the backyard. We lost our shirt on that thing. So then we got a call.
BMW.
What?
BMW lost a ton of money on that car.
Well, not as much as I did. Percentage-wise, I did much worse. But anyways, I got a call from one of our best friends when it comes to consulting houses. We do a lot of work with big consulting houses. Anyway, they said, hey, Audi wants to buy a car. And this takes too long to get it through our process, and we want you to tear it down like you did the Chevy Bolt. Come on, Sandy, this is great. We'll get to work together again, and come on, rub your hands together. Everything's going to be wonderful, right? So I bought the car like a fool. And what happened? Tesla didn't send it right away because it had a lot of quality issues. So Audi got somebody else to buy one in California, popped it on their own airplane, and flew it to Germany and said, das Vidania, or whatever. Yeah, so long, asshole. Anyways, at the end of the day, we're stuck with this Model 3. It's in our backyard, and I'm going, how did we? It's 2 times now. And that's how we got the first model. So Audi, I think, they're very close to the guys over there in VW. And that was when? 2017, 2018. So they were looking at that. And who else was doing anything quite like that? Nobody. They saw the BMW i3 come out and they said, that is why we're never going to build an electric vehicle, right? ugly and low range and ugly. Did I mention ugly? Yeah. So again, BMW went out first. GM went out first. GM was out first. They had the, we worked on the EV1 with GM. I was hot to trot on that thing, man. I thought that was great. And who killed it? Wall Street. They didn't like it. So at the end of the day, the big boys, the big OEMs always listen to, the really smart guys from wherever. And I think they got fed a line, and they bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I'm sure that when I was doing the Model 3 reports and whatnot, I told you, Toyota bought it, Honda bought it, Hyundai bought it, Kia bought it, a lot of Chinese companies bought it, Chrysler bought it, but I don't really classify them as a North American company yet. I'm sure that there's going to be just keep in mind, I'm crossing all my fingers. I'm hoping that that PSA and FCA will say, we need some money. And then they'll spin it off, and then I'll buy that stock. I'll sell everything I got and buy that stock because Chrysler will go to the moon. But anyway, there's a couple of European companies and one kind of company in North America that bought it, nobody else. Oh, sorry. There were other people that bought it. They don't make cars.
All right. So you're saying that Volkswagen is ahead because Volkswagen had a cultural and marketing change to say we're green and we've got to change our business.
Right.
Are the other companies, in your estimation, have they found religion now?
It's been a long time since usually I find out stuff if I go to one of those charitable events where they have shrimp. And actually, there's a picture of John and I holding shrimps. Actually, John, myself, and Roy Roberts, and we're holding our little shrimps with tuxedos on. And you don't see John in tuxedos, but he's on my desk, and we're holding the shrimps, shrimp eaters, right? And that's where I find out everything, or used to find out everything. But now I don't go to those kinds of things anymore, so I don't bump into auto execs. But my guess is, based on what I see from GM, there is at least some people who think that maybe there's a need or a want to get into the electric vehicle world. But I will tell you, I really think that moving at warp speed is what Ford, at least Ford and GM, need to do right now. I really think they've got to unload some baggage. And maybe it's time for some people to retire, and they really need to start looking at what are we going to do in order to make our shareholders happy. I mean, really, right now, if you add up all the wealth or worth of all the rest of the car companies and compare it to Tesla, and it went up again today. I mean, remember, I on your show, I said I'm buying Tesla stock. I mean, this stuff is going to go to the moon. And somebody asked, I can't remember who, but that was the old stock. How far do you think it's going? Oh, $2,000. It's going to go to a $2,000 a share. And then they cut it in. I cannot begin to tell you how much money I have made on Tesla stock. In fact, I will. I started with $22,000, and I sold it a while ago because I want to invest in another car company. But I sold that stuff for $170,000, from $22,000 to $170,000. Where else are you gonna? If I had GM stock, I don't know how much would I have made. That's, by the way, from April 1st until about a week ago. I think that people have to listen to the customer, right? And what's the customer saying? The customers are saying, if I'm going to buy stock, I'm going to buy that stock. If I'm going to buy a car that's going to be an EV, I'm going to buy one of those. They better start listening and looking. And I'm telling you, they need to hire some different guys for advice. That's a fact. That is the biggest thing that I think has gone wrong. They're listening to the wrong people. I listen to analysts and I go, are you an engineer? Well, no. Have you ever built a car? Well, no. But what did you do? Well, I've read a lot of magazines. Well, hey,
They're perfect.
that's all you need.
They know everything then.
Yeah, that's all you need to do, I guess. But anyway, I think that moving quickly is a good idea. That's my free consulting advice today.
Hey, let's go back to three-wheelers, Sandy, because that's a great topic. And I think if you can change the consumer's mindset, you're right. There's a bright future for them. What's it going to take to change the consumer mindset?
Well, production. I mean, nobody wants to be first. I mean, we all of us have talked at different conferences and whatnot. How many people sit in the front row? Zero. At least in China, they fight. I mean, they'll push each other out of the way. But in the United States, everybody wants to sit in the back row. Let's see what everybody else is doing. And how many people want to answer any questions out there? Crickets, right? That's kind of like the way it is. So when production starts to hit, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be coming rather soon. Actually, I don't have the right guy here to ask the question, but I know that Aptera wound up with a tremendous amount of people putting down deposits. I want to say 40,000. That's a big number. 40,000. I think it's 40,000 people put deposits down on their vehicle. And Arcimoto's got similar. That's why they needed a bigger factory. Yeah.
Right, but I'm sitting in Dearborn, Sandy, and I say to myself, how many F-150s did we sell last year? 450,000.
Yep.
So
and
I'm the Dearborn guy. Why do I change?
Yeah, exactly right. Why should I change? I'm going to be retiring shortly anyway.
Yeah, we had a guy last week, Jeff Stout from Yanfeng, and he talked about the book, The Innovator's Dilemma. And you know it, yeah.
Yeah.
And as he said, and it dovetails perfectly with what you're saying here, you've sometimes in business got to do some things that maybe don't make business sense, that are not going to pay off in the short term, not even close, but they're going to save your ass in the long run.
So here's another skill testing question. When Tesla first got going, myself included, I thought these guys are going to be out of business in a weekend. And I looked at the little sports car and I said, this looks a lot like a Lotus. And how did they stay alive? Certainly not by selling that thing. How did they do it? Because OEMs were willing to pay $25,000 per vehicle to get points, to get the points so they could sell their normal cars in California. Now that's gone down a lot. Now it's only a few thousand, but they still are buying those credits. How long ago was it that they had the they had that little sports car out? A long time ago. And I would have guessed that would have been something that would have said, hey, maybe there's something to this. How long did it take for the Pony Express to be out of business?
1 year.
1 day. The first telegraph that went from New York to Los Angeles, and the guy that was in charge of the Pony Express knocked it down. 1 day. That was it. When those Pony Express guys finally reached their destination with their, we can get a letter across the United States in like 17 days or something like that. When they got there, they said, oh, sorry, you ran for nothing. We're not doing that anymore. 1 day. Things can happen awfully fast. How long was the electric vehicle business? How long did they last once gas stations and basically all the infrastructure that was needed? Then the big one, again, was Boss Kettering. He invented the electric starter. How long after that did the electric car companies hang around? They had 50% of the market share, and it went to nothing, like nearly overnight. So lots of things that were very powerful at one time. Empires, car companies, They vanished overnight. Things can happen quickly if you don't have a backup plan. Yeah.
So let's go back to VTOLs then too. You see three-wheelers and VTOLs as the
Yeah.
two hot things for what, this decade?
Yeah, this decade's going to be a big deal. This is going to be a really big deal. I believe that EVs will cross over. I originally said 3035, and then when I went on that trip, I went on a round the world trip. I just happened that all these different people come and give a talk at our conference. Sure. And in 2019, I'll do that all day long. It makes a lot. I can make a lot of money at that. So I went to Japan. I went to Korea. I went to China. I went to Singapore. I went to Qatar. I went to Norway, and then I went to Britain and came back home. And after taking that little trip, there was no way in hell that I was going to tell people 2035. I went to 2030, and now I'm looking at the way things are going, and I'm thinking maybe 2028, especially because of California, especially when they start saying all vehicles by 2030, 2035 or whatever have to be EVs. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? I'm not going to be able to get that F-150. Oh, and by the way, they're also talking about credit tax. Like, so if you want to buy that vehicle, you're going to get, or sorry, carbon tax, not credit tax, carbon tax. Carbon taxes, all this other stuff, it's going to be unpopular to have that happen. Now, you were mentioning VTOLs. I think that we've got a couple of companies. Again, they're struggling right now. But I'm thinking that VTOLs are going to be, electric VTOLs are going to be very popular in California because we've all been to California. We all know that the Ventura Highway is misnomer. That's like it's not a highway, it's the slow way to get anywhere. And I believe that there's a lot of people that want to stay in the valley, but want to work downtown. And they're the guys, or they're the people that are going to be buying them. And I'm telling you flat, it's a lot easier, a tremendous amount easier to have autonomous flight with a VTOL than it. But you guys all know, we developed that plane, no pilot. And I remember somebody saying something along the lines of, Sandy, I really don't think you're going to get anybody into a plane that doesn't have a pilot. And unfortunately, we wound up with a problem. We didn't have any money. Our bank was Lehman Brothers, or our banking, and it went away. But I can tell you that we flew from Reagan with 3 planes from Reagan Airport to Danville. No pilot touched anything. It took off, it flew, it landed, and the senators and congressmen that were in there were pretty impressed. And then it turned around and flew back and dropped them back off at Reagan Airport the next day or the day after. I can't remember. I'm positive we can make. And think about it. Think about it. If I'm driving down the expressway, what's the difference between me? What's the distance between me and that car sitting next to me? 2 feet? Maybe 3 feet sometimes? How close do I have to be with a VTOL? 1,000 feet? Everybody says, oh, it's going to be really crowded because they've got a flat mentality. This is 3D. This is where we're going to get into the Jetsons. So,
Sandy, is
do
this?
you see this?
Wow,
I was
go
just going to say, do you see these being privately owned, or just it would be no different than using an Uber day to day, or instead of taking the Caltrain or something like that?
I think it's going to be both. I think some people are going to want their own because Americans like to buy their own products. There's a lot of talk about how the younger generation doesn't want to, they want to own anything. They just want to go from here to there. And that may be true for a while. I remember thinking that, hey, if my boyfriend, if my friend who happens to be a boy, wants to give me a ride in his car, and all of us are in there, and all we had to do is pay $2 instead of $10 for gas, make mine a double. Okay. But as time goes by, you want to date and stuff like that. All of a sudden, I don't want mom's car, and I don't want to drive with somebody else. And double dating is cramping my style. So what do? You buy your own. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen as well. Some things don't change too much. Anyway, Gary had something.
Well, I was basically going to go down that road because I was thinking that what was it last year? Uber and Hyundai talked about they were going to be collaborating on air service, and now Uber's like, not going to do it, not going to happen. And I just wonder whether for some companies this isn't the sort of thing where so we saw Cadillac introduce their rather snazzy looking VTOL as a small part of their presentation at CES, and whether that's just the sort of in thing to do that, yes, we'll have one as well.
I'm not 100% sure, but but when I saw that GM popped up with a little VTOL, that gave me encouragement. Like I say, we're working with a couple of VTOL companies right now, and one of them is using what I've been criticized for, is saying the fuel of the future. It's still electricity, but it's using a fuel cell, and I believe that fuel cell with hydrogen is the perfect application for VTOLs, because I can swap out tanks really quickly, much faster than I can charge any batteries, and I can make pretty much anything happen whenever I want. It doesn't really matter to me whether I'm getting my electricity using hydrogen or I'm getting my electricity out of a battery, except that batteries weigh a tremendous amount, and weight is not your friend when you're trying to fly. So.
Hey, Sandy, we got a ton of questions here from viewers. Let's get to some of them rapid fire. Like Dale Leonard wants to know, he loves cowboy boots. He's a big fan of yours. Where do you get your cowboy boots?
Where do I get them? These ones that I've got on, I bought in Texas, but I am a big fan of supporting American companies. So I have Lucchese. They're expensive, but these ones here are 5 years old, and I have 2 other pairs. And if you add them all together, it works out to 30 years.
Mike Knott wants to know, whatever happened to Covetic aluminum, which you talked about on this show several years ago?
Wow. Well, there's lawsuits going on in that one, so I'm going to pass. Next.
Dave Puddle wants to know, what's it going to take for Tesla to deliver on Elon's promise of having a $25,000 electric car, no incentives? The 3-wheeler, huh?
That's it. He already made one. He said, oh, no, these things are unsafe. I'm not going to do it. Well, he should have hired us, because what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that that thing has a gyroscopic chip, which means that as it starts to going, hey, I think I want to go flip over, it'll have something in an air shock and it'll push it back up and to keep it flat. It won't flip over. Anyways, there you go.
Hey,
it's like a segue.
We got an interesting one.
Exactly right.
A guy, he's written in anonymously. He works for a company called IKCO, which he says is the biggest manufacturer in the Middle East. He's in Iran. He thinks things are going to change and it's going to go down the tubes like the Soviet Union. So he's asking you, what should I do? What skills should I learn? I want to be ready for a fast-growing industry.
Okay, so number one on the hit parade is going to be electric motor technology. If he's in school, actually a lot of the best electric motor designers are coming from Turkey, and he could probably get into one of the Turkish schools and be taught by the experts. That would be my first choice. battery technology has got to be number 2.
Okay, Joseph Moulton from New Hampshire wants to know, he's noticed that the Aptera doesn't have any side mirrors. How are they going to handle that?
It does have kind of side mirrors. It's got cameras. So they have cameras that stick out, and that's the side mirror. And quite frankly, why do I need those things? Really and truly. I mean, this isn't the 1900s. What do we need a mirror for?
I
I don't get it.
The government says you have to. The
Well,
government
you know what?
doesn't let you use cameras. They're in Japan and Europe. You can't use them here.
Okay. Can we just for a moment think about how many times some of the guys here in Detroit have gone to Washington to fight for more pollution? Why didn't they fight for less mirrors? I mean, there's got to be a really old guy who's in charge of that book. You gotta have, look, see, I wrote it down here in 1917. Put a mirror in. Get out. Okay, so that's kind of like what we're getting. That's basically it. This is another example of an old boat anchor of an idea that's gone. I mean, we should still have distributors. That's what we really need. We need to have.
Okay, Casual Gearheads wants to know, what do you think about the future of the aftermarket? Both non-OEM and replacement parts, especially for performance and styling upgrades.
Is he talking about ICE or EVs or what?
I think with everything that you've been talking about, especially the world going electric, where's that leave the aftermarket? But as he said,
yeah, I think that there's always going to be an aftermarket. There's always going to be somebody that wants to, jazz up their product. It's going to be tough on a Tesla because you have to be a rocket scientist to make things work in this thing or change it around. Styling, though, I mean, we've all seen people take vehicles and the top hat's a big nothing. In fact, I'm going to try and talk a guy actually in New Zealand into having us buy him a Model 3, rip off the top and turn it into the product of his dreams. I think that I'd want the whole, all I want to do is take the skateboard, and I'd just take everything except for the body. I give that to Heath and then drop his new body on top. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that Tesla may get into the market of just manufacturing a skateboard, and you do what you want. Like Ford and General Motors and whatever, they do the same thing with big trucks.
Scott from Asheville quotes Colin Chapman, of Formula One fame, who said, simplify, then add lightness.
Exactly.
EVs have been simplified. He wants to know, will solid state batteries add lightness? And by the way, he goes on to say, you have taught all of your followers and educated them more than you know.
Wow. That's nice. Thank you very much. And Colin Chapman is one of my all-time favorite guys. I looked at it as an honor when I actually went to work for Lotus, and I did every little thing I could to find out, what bars he went into and what he did, where he sat, what his desk looked like. He's in the list of heroes that I have. And as you know, we have, that is, simplification is what we do. Reduce the number of parts, reduce this, reduce that, and improve the quality. And I mean, everything goes better when you reduce, and light is good. So as we go into, as we get into solid state batteries, yes, they'll make the car significantly lighter. I want to say a third, but I'm thinking more like 65% lighter than a battery.
Wow.
An equal amount of power in a battery.
Remember, Colin Chapman said that a race car should be designed only long enough to last the race. That's how light you should make it. He said, as soon as they throw the checkered flag, the whole thing should fall to pieces.
Well, I do remember reading something along those lines, but I just ignore that part.
Well, yeah. To the checkered flag, they fell apart before that. Two
Yeah.
last ones. Dave Thompson asked a bunch of questions that I think got answered in the show. He wanted to know a lot about three-wheelers. Dick Dumont from Mannequin Sabbath in Virginia says, what's your take on solid-state lithium-ion batteries, which we have talked about? He wants to know when you think they'll hit the market.
3 years in volume. You're talking.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah.
Andy, what are you most excited about that solid state's going to unlock? Because I think a lot of people use that as like a buzzword, and they really don't know what it's truly. Some people like it because it's lighter and just becomes there. It's just a word that no one has a clear definition for. They kind of use it almost like a magic. And I'm starting to see it more and more in different EV companies where they start referring that they're going to have a solid state almost to just get interest around and buzz. What about that technology? And you mentioned even QuantumScape earlier.
Yeah.
What would you say is the main thing that you're most excited about? Is it the greater energy density? Is it the lighter weight?
Range. I want something that number one on the hit parade is going to give me more range. And it's going to be lighter, so that's one of the things that I'm going to get for free. It's a spin-off benefit. The other thing is speed of charge. I'll be able to charge that great big giant fuel cell faster than I could pump gas into my Wrangler. Those are the two things that I think that's what I really want, and that's what I'm banking on. But the problem is there's been too many people that came out with a song and dance or a lie, basically, and we had one here. Unfortunately, one of our guys, Mark Ellis, is better at telling this story. But in essence, this lady come in, gave us a razzle-dazzle story, and in about 20 minutes, we figured out this is crap. But then she went to the right places, and she wound up getting millions and millions of dollars, and then she vanished because it was snake oil. So it's got a bad rap. Too many people have talked about technology or chemistry that just was baloney, is like a lie. There's too many of those as well. So,
Gary, any last question?
Well, I just want to Sandy, I want to clarify your crossover point for EVs in 28. Now, is this a crossover in terms of sales volume or price parity?
Sales. I think that and I published this all over the place, so I'm going to stick with 2030. But that's where the crossover point is going to be.
Come on, you made news at 28, so we're not going to change that. It's going to be 28. Don't backslide.
Don't back up. Oh, okay. No. All right, 28. But anyway, I think that's the time when more than 50% of the automobiles sold, will be EVs, more than 50%. And I believe that in order to hit the rules and regulations that are coming down in California, a lot of people better really try and figure out how they can ramp up. Yeah.
With a lot of new cars being now $38,000, $40,000 anyway, couldn't you make the argument a lot of these EVs have kind of crossed their price parity point? I mean, quite a few of them, a lot of them do start under that now.
Yeah, and I think that we paid 40. Did we pay $44,000 for this thing? I think that's what Corey told me. Yeah, I think it was around $44,000 for this, and we're going to add another 10 grand because we're for this road trip. We're going to go with the Beta, the
FSD.
FSD. What do they call that?
Full self-driving.
Full self-driving. Yeah, FSD. So we're going to be getting FSD in this thing before we go. I want to see whether it's for real or not. So we're looking at that. What was it? 47. Was that tax? Yeah. Okay. So 47,000 after everything was done. So it'll be 57,000 when we get the beta version of FSD, and really and truly, what can I buy for $57,000? Something that looks like that thing back there, only it's got an engine instead of a motor. Not much difference. I think that from a price standpoint, when the little 3 wheels come out, and they're coming out at 27,000, all dressed up. Why would I buy a Toyota or a Honda or a Hyundai or a Kia or even a little GM or a little Ford? Why? Why? I mean, I only need
wheel.
Fourth wheel. Yeah. Okay, but I really don't think so. I think if you get a chance to drive one of these things, you change your mind in a hurry. It's like you don't notice that there isn't a fourth wheel. But I will tell you, you notice the difference when you find out that the corner that you normally pay for isn't there. The corner being one of those wheels isn't there, and that means lighter weight, and that means more fuel efficiency, or in this case, battery efficiency. On and on. There's a lot of reasons for going to 3 wheels, and actually, some people know that I used to own a Morgan Super Sport, and if you're a Morgan enthusiast, you find out quickly that there was Morgans that they'd win hill climbs all the time. The reason that they won the hill climbs all the time is because they had 1 rear wheel and 2 front wheels, and it was a front wheel drive vehicle. So up that hill they'd go and leave everybody in the dust. Less drag, all kinds of reasons. I mean, I haven't seen one airplane with, well, let me rephrase that. One normal airplane with anything more than 3 wheels. I don't need it for a Cessna. All the jet fighters only have three wheels. They seem to be doing all right. And they
don't spend a whole lot of time on the highway though. So
no, they don't. But they land at 300 miles an hour, 350 miles an hour. So that's pretty good. I've never driven 350 miles an hour on 4 wheels. So I can't imagine coming in for a landing at 350 miles an hour on anything less than 3 wheels. Actually, they start off with 1 and then they put the second. They cheat a little bit, but
Hey, Sandy,
they don't get the 4.
we're going to wrap up here, but I'm intrigued by your cold weather testing. And just so anybody watching right now who may not know how to, tell them how they can get to your live updates of what you're doing.
Sure. It'll be, go to YouTube and type in monroelive.com, and there it is. That's what we're going to be doing. The live stream may have something else that you can do, or maybe it's just got an extra button or something. But at the end of the day, it's relatively simple to get to our website. And I think we have a lot of people that are pretty excited about things that we put up there. And actually, you win prizes too. You can't see them anymore. But, you can, right back there. So one of the things that I was asked to do, I just looked at it. We have to tell people only 21 of the 70 people that won prizes have claimed them. So everybody was really good at sending in all this stuff. Okay, we pulled out a number of hats, and 21 people have watched the Christmas episode. Only 21 of the 70 people claimed the prizes. So you might want to check that out. Find out if you won something, and because everybody's got some kind of YouTube name. Big Charlie. It's hard to find Big Charlie's address. I don't know how to do that, but anyway, yeah. So we even give out stuff.
So when's the trip start? So when should people start watching this?
Well, that's the big thing that's up in the air right now. I thought we were going to be doing it next week, but apparently we're still waiting. There's a lot of things that, like when you start talking about this, and you tell other people, the next thing you know, oh, can you visit? And suddenly the trip is taking on a life of its own. It's like a real road trip. I'm hoping that it doesn't turn into like a movie where people wake up on a roof and they're naked or something like that. I don't want anything like that happening. Neither does my wife either. She would get very upset if I woke up naked on a roof again.
Eating a hamburger.
Eating a hamburger. Or the remains of a hamburger laying next to you. If you're going to wake up on a roof, waking up next to a hamburger, that's okay. I can think of a lot of other things that you could wake up next to. Be really ugly. Yeah. So
well, good. Hey, Sandy, thanks a million for coming on the show again, man.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to be with you, this austere group. Yes, thank you. I mean, Sandy, really. Thank you.
And Chase, thanks for sitting in with us today too.
My pleasure. Great to be speaking with all of you again and talking to Sandy as well.
Good deal.
Good deal.
Gary, we'll just keep on doing it.
Indeed.
Good job.
Autoline After Hours is brought to you by Hyundai, Bridgestone Tires, solutions for your journey, and by Borg Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world.
Visit our website, Autoline.tv, where you can watch us live Thursday afternoons. Get your daily fix with Autoline Daily and in-depth analysis and interviews with Autoline This Week. There's all that and much more at Autoline.tv.